How's it going, everybody? This is Down to Earth with Kristian Harloff, Monday through Friday. We give you a story and what we think are the biggest news stories going on in the world of the UAP phenomenon. So if you're brand new to the channel, you've never been here before, subscribe to it. Trying to get to 25,000 subscribers. And in case you're wondering, does this guy even know what's going on? Of course I do. I'm paying attention to all of it every day. How could I do this show every day? And then what? I'm making it up? Come on, get your shit together, people. Stop asking questions to me and ask questions to yourself. What is going on? Who's lying? Who's telling the truth? Or Ross Coulthart, what's he say? He says straight up, government, they be lying. That's right. This thing that happened over the Eglin Air Force Base. And so the report that AARO put out said, yeah, well, unfortunately, we didn't get any video of it. And it's a balloon. So, you know, the thing we tell you all the time. So, bye. And then you go, well, wait a minute. That might not be the case. Ross had his new podcast that came out today, and this is what he said.
One of the stories that's been surfacing is the story about Eglin Air Force Base. And I notice AARO, the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, recently announced in its historical review report that a sighting that allegedly took place in January 2023 by a jet fighter pilot out of Eglin Air Force Base over the Gulf of Mexico, where he allegedly saw an Apollo command module acorn-shaped object. The AARO, the Pentagon's UFO investigation office, categorically denied that there was video of that incident. And very, very interestingly, there's an FOI I've just tweeted about where a guy has obtained paperwork from the US Air Force confirming there is video. Somebody's lying. And I know they're lying because overnight I've just received information telling me that the Air Force is reluctant to admit that there is video because the video came from their latest F-22 Raptor fighter. And there were two fighters, I'm told, on location that were there when this object was seen. And there is video. It's being declined for national security reasons. Yet AARO tries to make us believe this is a balloon. Utter BS. I'm calling it out. It's a flat out lie.
Yeah, mincing words. Flat out lie. Flat out lie. So it's hard. You know, it's one of these things where I've told you many times over when I'm listening to this and all the reports that have come out over countless many years, where whether from Roswell to whatever it might be, there's a crash, it's a balloon, nothing to see here, but there were jets but they were just doing there were no jets. Oh, they were just doing a routine thing. There's only one jet. Oh, there were three jets, but they were doing this. This happened many times over, whether it was stuff with the FAA, where there was that one case in Texas. It just seems like the cycle just repeats. This makes sense when you hear what Coulthart is saying. This is it's top secret equipment. And they don't want to show you anything because, well, one, for the obvious reasons, and two, if they show it from this, you're going to get some more information on the new stuff that they're working on, and it could jeopardize national security. I get that. I understand that. But it's the lie that is kind of told, right? And it's a matter of, if it is indeed a lie, as Ross Coulthart is saying, because then you get this cover-up from AARO, who they're saying, like, look, there was no video. Oh, there wasn't? Okay, just put in the report there's no video. And then you look at this stuff today, you got to give Greenstreet credit here today because he talked to Kirkpatrick and he asked Kirkpatrick questions. And this is one of the things that I said, though, that I've been saying many times over. Whether you're a skeptic or whether you're a true believer, you got to look at things on an open mind and not just try to do gotcha on your side to prove your point. If you find something, if you're a believer and you're going, wait a minute, something stinks, I don't believe that. Look what Patrick does over at Vetted. Patrick believes what's going on, but Patrick will challenge somebody real quick. He's like, wait a minute, something stinks. Yeah, I want to believe this, but this sounds too crazy for me. And I think the same can be said for Greenstreet today. I'm not necessarily a fan of a lot of the things that he does in the way that he approaches stuff, but I was a fan on the way that he approached that interview. He asked questions. He followed up questions when he didn't get an answer to the question that he wanted to, particularly about some of the people that were on the UAP task force. And Kirkpatrick kind of danced around it. He went after him. He asked him again. And then, to his credit, he did a report on it going, I didn't really get the information here that I was there's some, he kind of backtracked on it. So he wasn't just trying to paint his own narrative. And I think that is important all the way through for everybody here. And I think this is a part of this too. If AARO is not telling the truth, and there's something more, I'd like to see people on both sides follow this report up. Is there video? Ross Coulthart is always going to be one of the guys in the forefront going, look, something stinks. We know that. That's what he does, and that's why we trust in him to do this. He was the guy that got Grush out there talking, and he did that in the first place. So when he speaks right now, we listen. We go, wait a minute, what else does this guy know? He's got more stuff. I mean, News Nation trusts him enough to say, hey, put this show on every week. You be the voice for us more so on this topic because we're scaling back a little bit, but you go after it. And he's really going after it with this because something happened at that Air Force base, some kind of video, something else. The balloon thing I hate the balloon thing. I always say, if you watch my other show, I hate the balloon thing. It's like there's other things that you can say, other equipment, other ship, maybe other kind of technology that we don't really know about. Balloons, the one from New York to what kind of balloon moves at that kind of speed? Balloons. I hate the balloon thing. I hate it. So anyway, there was another follow-up to what Ross Coulthart said on this, and this is what he said.
Part of the problem, part of the dilemma that I'm increasingly becoming aware of is I do think the US government is probably experimenting with non-human technology. I really do. I think the evidence is becoming overwhelming, and you're going to be hearing a lot more from this from me in the next few months.
I mean, again, big claims. And it's like, this goes back to what I just said. Hell yeah, I want to believe this. Hell yeah, I want to believe that he's going to have more to talk about and he's going to have more proof. But it's the same thing that I am now becoming a broken record of, okay, you heard this, you saw that, you know that there's video, but what comes of it? What comes of it? Does it push the needle forward? So as always, after I do these big up top, my thoughts, I bring in Pavel to tell me what I got wrong, what I got right, and what he thinks about all of it. Here he is. Pavel, there you go. There you are. How are you, my friend?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Good. You know what you're talking about in this subject matter?
I do feel very uninformed increasingly each day because there's so much over 80 years.
It's just so much. And it seems like the same old. But all right, so when it all comes to this Air Force base, and this all makes sense when you think about what he's saying, the potential of the top secret nature of it, where they want to keep it quiet, how AARO once again is saying, no, nothing to see here. It was a balloon. There is no video. But how does, I mean, you know, I know the answer is going to be like, who knows how his sources are, but how does Ross Coulthart come across evidence that he feels is strong enough to support him going publicly and saying there is video?
He's talked about it in previous podcasts of him, and Need to Know is one of them. I've seen him in really obscure podcasts talking about this stuff. He knows people from inside the military and from Congress and from these programs, and he's seen some videos. I know that he's talked about this before. He hasn't gone into specifics or anything, but he's since seen some stuff himself. He can't really disclose the information because it's not his to disclose the specifics, but he has that's what I've gathered from his different interventions. Have you seen the movie? Of course you have. It's one of the most watched of 2022 or 2023. Top Gun Maverick. Do you remember those suspiciously Eastern European planes that were really like state of the art? Mm-hmm. Those are the F-22 Raptors. Those have the latest in technology. And he said, specifically, Ross, that there were two of those filming this object, which were like 4 or 5, I think. If that's true, that means that is 4K video. It's not just any kind of video. So that may be one of the reasons they are not accepting this is real, this video. So that's one small tidbit to look at.
It's like, and the other kind of bombshell inside of this is that he's just said, it's becoming clearer and clearer that they're working on non-human, NHI equipment. And so the question is, that again, bold claim to make. You got to be pretty damn certain to make that claim, and then so you'll be hearing more about that from me. Now you can understand, like I love listening to him talk. I think that I think he is locked in. I think that he is one of the major players and advocate for disclosure. I think his heart's in the right place. But you can also see where someone would say, well, yeah, he's going to tease, like, listen to my show because I'm going to be talking about this crazy thing for the next like 4 or 5 weeks, and you guys need to tune on in, right? As opposed to, well, yeah, that's a great claim otherwise, but like, where does it? I guess it's a question. Where does it go, Pavel? Where does it go?
So let me give you some details on this, because when I started making contact with Ross, I wanted to try and see what kind of methods he uses to investigate. And I started like throwing some cases at him. Like, what do you think of this? What do you think of this? What do you think of this? And the results I got were of a person who does his due diligence, and any claim that was way too wild, he immediately like responded to it like, look, this is wrong, this needs more investigation, you can
Right.
check this link right here of this. And there was one specific from the Mexico hearing, it has nothing to do with the mummies, of a Italian doctor who talks about the human species being manipulated, its genome about thousands of years ago. And I asked him, because this doctor is very well known in Italy. He has many accolades, and he's like one of the most respected PhDs over there. And Ross like snapped at me. He was like, this is very responsible to say this in public in a hearing like this, because there are many of his claims that haven't been properly gone through the scientific method. And I was like, oh, I'm sorry. So
Yeah,
I think this guy really does his job as a journalist. He doesn't just
I'm
come
sure
out
he
and
does.
make these claims just
Right.
like that, you know?
So I totally agree with that. I don't think he's going to be, he's not going to be someone that irresponsibly says, hey, guess what? Dangle, 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 dangle. But I will say, you know, the question, as I asked you though, like, where does it ultimately go? You can say, like, I've investigated and I have this, but where does it go? What does it add in the long run? I mean, you get people talking about it, and you get people, you know, poking around about it and asking about this. And I think that's probably the ultimate answer, is get more people asking questions, and what we try to do on this show every day. And but where does it go? How do you get the exposure? How do you get them to actually expose what the hell this is?
I think that the main idea, and Ross has talked about this too, and I believe the same thing. We need to keep expanding the message, but more importantly, we need to realize that this effort from the government of disclosing things from the pro disclosure side is more than likely not going to happen. And many of them, including Ross, already knew that this was a very big possibility, you know, but at least they had to try in order to prevent other problems to arise. This idea of catastrophic disclosure has so many layers to it. It doesn't just mean like War of the Worlds and everybody run, they're gonna disintegrate us and shit like that, you know. It means a lot of legal stuff.
It does, but can you sniff around? Can you sniff around enough with this thing and say, okay, I know that there's a video. I've had someone reach out and say that there's a video. And if you obtain the video, let's say that Ross gets a hold of the video, he can't expose it. He can't let the video go.
If he had a hold of a video, I think he would have found a way to release it already. I don't think he has.
You just wish that something along the lines of what Chris Mellon and Lou Elizondo ultimately did with that New York Times article, with that video that was leaked, right?
Yeah.
That's the type of thing that moved forward the needle in such a way. It opened up where it really, that's what that made you realize you couldn't put the genie back in the bottle at that point, because you show someone that video, and no matter how much people try to debunk it and say it's, you know, balloons or another type of jet, that's not a jet. That's not a freaking balloon. Like, that's, I don't know what that is, but that's not that. That's enough to go, all right, let's listen to all these people who have been saying this for years, and now we can take them a little bit more seriously now. So that type of thing needs to happen again, because if there is a clearer video of this thing and it is actually released and it's actually leaked, that's a game changer, right?
Yeah, it definitely is. And it would shut a lot of people up. And obviously, it would awake many more questions because once we get through a threshold that we believe is there, so much more opens up for not just this case, but many other areas of academia and science. So
Mm-hmm.
I think that also is playing into this because there's a lot of, for example, in archaeology, there's a lot of infighting to establish the truth and to fight against the previously established truth.
Sure.
And I think the same thing is happening in science. The same thing happens in defense. So there's an inner struggle that we're not privy to that goes on every day. And
Yeah.
it's
And
not
what
just like statements, it's also a lot of memos and a lot of trials and that we
right.
don't find out about.
Right. Well, but I guess adding into that, what do you think about the claims that he made at the end? He just like he says they're flat out lying. I mean, that's
Yeah.
a big claim to make also to say it again publicly on your show.
And also that claim about the non-human intelligence
Right. Right.
technology,
Right.
that's pretty wild. And I've never heard Ross say that out loud before. I've heard him on, well, messaging him, kind of alluding to it, but not that specifically. And if
He
he
sounds
already
scared.
said it, if he already said it, means he already has some evidence to prove what he's saying. So I don't know. We'll surely keep a lookout for
I
whatever
really
he
want
drops.
I really want to talk to him on so many questions. There's so many
Oh
questions
yeah,
about like he knows what's going on with Grush, and as far as like when we're going to hear from him next, and all that, and have you heard anything about what he said anything about to you about Jason Sands or anything? What
no,
his
I saw
thoughts are on
his
that?
the Reddit AMA.
Yeah.
I saw it, and he said something similar to Corbell that his claims haven't been verified, but he is who he says he is, and that's about it. I
Okay.
think there is this other phenomena going on that some alleged whistleblowers, such as Sands and another two, are starting to come forward on Twitter Spaces, and I don't think that's a good idea because it's such a chaotic place that if you agree to an interview with someone who is not uh, qualified to do it properly, it can backfire pretty badly.
Couldn't
So
agree more. It
yeah,
is such it's wild west going into a saloon where everybody has their six shooter pointed at you. Um
exactly.
anyway, all right, Pavel, as always, man, thank you very much. We'll see you soon.
Thank you, Christian.
All right. So there you have it. This is a big claim from Ross, and the idea that there is video out there that once again another claim that AARO is not being truthful. This seems to be a thing that comes from all sides about AARO not being truthful. The idea today, and I think that Greenstreet actually added to that today when he talked to Kirkpatrick, and it wasn't necessarily that there was a lie that Kirkpatrick told him, but it was more so of like a wait a minute, hold on, I'm not going to really answer that. And then there's more to it. And he's like, I don't know how that happens. I'm not sure. I wasn't there when that happened. So there seems like there's this overall thing that happens at AARO. And so don't tell them that we have video. Tell them that we don't have video. Put it in the report that we don't. And that seems like what happened. Or the flip side, as I said it, is that no, it was balloons. That's what it was. You guys are making too much out of this. It's not. It's balloons. Wasn't. They don't know what it is. They can't tell you because of national security. Stop with the UFOs. Very well could be a point of view. So all that, put that in there. If you're brand new to the channel, you've never been here before, subscribe to it. Daily news, Monday through Friday, that is. So go ahead, put that in there. Thanks for joining us. Thanks to Pavel, and we'll see you next time.